This next one, I'm almost embarrassed to say that I read it, but I shouldn't be. I shouldn't be. Okay. Most unapologetic reads. I intentionally named the channel that, okay? Because we should not be embarrassed about what we decide to read, okay? Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am back with another video to share how my reading went for the month of September. I'll start off by saying that I had a very clear bunch of books that I was going to get into, and my reading really slowed to a crawl for most of the month. I don't know what was going on. Time just kind of got away from me, and yeah, things didn't go as planned. But I will share what I read, what I planned on reading, and what I really enjoy. All right, so stay tuned. All right, everybody, so let me first show you what I plan to read. Okay, now don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. This was a completely realistic reading stack for the month. Like totally. You know, I do believe I could have gotten through, so it's 7 of them. If I had been on the roll, okay? I could have gotten at least through 5 of them. Alrighty, so I want you to place your guesses down below as to how many you think I actually got to out of this massive stack. Alrighty, so I got to 3, sorta. The first book that I picked up last month was Meet Me in Another Life by Catronia Sylvie. This gave me Time Traveler's Wife vibes, and they share some things in common. They both have the kind of time traveling, multiple timeline dynamic or mechanism, and there's this kind of star-crossed, faded romance vibe as well. And also, I have not finished either one of those. So in particular, the Time Traveler's Wife book, I have not read at all. The movie I have partially watched, and this book I have partially read. I don't know what happened. I started reading it, got about 30% into it, and just put it down. So let me tell you a little bit about it. And I do plan to go back and finish it because I really don't like leaving things unfinished. So in this book, the main characters are named Thora and Santi. So in their original timeline, I guess maybe that will be their original timeline, they meet, sparks fly, and they want to continue to explore this new spark. But the universe has some other plans, and Thora and Santi will be reincarnated into different lifetimes, different roles, under different circumstances, and they will meet, and then something will happen to drive them apart. This was tracking to be like a 3.5 for me before I put it down, but of course I will let you guys know how it turns out when I actually finish it. A book that I did get to from the stack and actually finish was The Problem with Dating by Brittany Cherry. So this is a rom-com. It definitely gives Hallmark vibes. In fact, there's probably several movies with the same plot, the same storyline on Hallmark. So Miss Brittany, yeah, her name is spelled different. It's Brittany. I haven't seen Brittany spelled this way. So Miss Brittany Cherry, if you haven't already, you need to try to get you a movie deal for this book, because it deserves to be produced and put on the TV screen, because it was good. It was really cute. The main female character is Yara, and Yara lives in a smaller town outside the city of Chicago called Honey Creek. Isn't that cute? Honey Creek. Don't that sound like that would be on a Hallmark movie? Anyway, so Yara has recently gone through a divorce and she's starting over. She's enthusiastic about this new chapter of her life and her business, where she runs a pet daycare slash grooming place. And across from her, she has a new business neighbor, Alejandro. Alejandro has come to Honey Creek to open up a restaurant in the town's old movie theater. Their initial meet and greets were not pleasant. Alejandro is anti small talk, skeptical of everyone's niceness, and definitely not buying into Yara's sunshiny personality. Eventually, these two found themselves in a situation where they agreed to fake date. I really like the twist on the fake dating trope in this book. It worked out well, and it just showed how unsuspecting love can be. I ended up giving this a 4 stars. I feel like the romance was really intentional. The rom-com aspect, the humor was really timed well. If you watch my last month's reviews, or when was this? August reviews, I read something where I felt like the humor was not well timed. This definitely it was. And to be honest with you guys, I'm not even a big rom-com book girly. I will watch a rom-com, but reading one, I don't really pick up those. But this was a solid read and I enjoyed it. So I have one more that I got to from the stack, and it was the Wren in the Holly Library. And I usually look up animals and plants that I'm not familiar with when they're brought up in a book or whatever. And I didn't look up a wren. Is a wren Mo editing Mo? Look up what a wren looks like, okay, and put the picture on the screen, because I have no idea what a wren, or even if it's real. Anyway, off topic. The Wren in the Holly Library had a promising synopsis with mentions of thievery and monsters. The Wren in this book is a young woman named Kierce, like Pierce, but with a K. And Kierce is the best thief around. She gets in, she gets out, she doesn't leave a trace, and the author makes her seem like a real bad ass. Now, one day she gets a job to retrieve something from the home library of an unsuspecting gentleman. Unbeknownst to her, the owner, Graves, is there and catches her in the act. Now, Kierce does not realize that she has broken into the home of a warlock. In this universe, in this post-war with monsters New York, a warlock is considered a monster. And Kierce has broken the monster treaty by breaking into his home. So Graves blackmails her into helping him steal something that he wants. So the beginning of this was really interesting. I had never considered a warlock or a witch to be monsters, but that's where the author was going with this. And, I thought that the situation between Graves and Kierce was going to start off being very like enemies to lovers situation. And then I ended up not liking the book like a lot. It was a 2.5 for me, and that was for several reasons. The first being, I, as a reader, did not have much buy-in into the characters, into the actions that they were taking, into their dialogue. So, for example, Kierce was painted out to be this Buffy the Vampire Slayer type chick, and I wasn't buying it. I don't feel like there was a lot of creativity in her ability. In fact, her ability is called, well, the first one that she discovers, she names slow mo, short for slow motion, right? And I thought that was just lame. There were several things that transpired that I thought were lame. And I usually don't say that about a book. After the first quarter of the book, it kind of slowed down. It dragged on. The third thing, I didn't like the classification system for the monsters. There was no romance. I think this might be classified as a romantasy. There was no romance. There was spice, but no romance. I don't like when, unless that's what I signed up for, but I didn't sign up for that with this. Some authors make it seem like the lustful looks and the touches and the sparks are romance, and it's not romance. That's just attraction. Just to touch on briefly what I didn't get to, the library at Hellbore, I waited forever for this one to come into the library. It's brand new, and this one was with the students who locked themselves into the library because the professors start like eating the students or something. And this one, Embrace the Serpent, I believe this is a romantasy. Close Your Eyes and Count to 10. This one gives me, the synopsis anyway, gives me A Dangerous Game by Richard Connell vibes. And last but not least, A Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. This one was a thickie. The library gave me 28 days, and as we know, I didn't get to it. So if you've been with me for a little minute, you know that I love me some anime. And I have not gotten into reading manga. And that was one of my reading goals this year, was to pick up a graphic novel or a manga. So I kind of did that, but I did it online. I am often scrolling through social media, and my algorithm shows me different manga or manhwa series that are being popularized. And for those of you that don't know, a manhwa is a Korean comic book or graphic novel, and a lot of them are published online. A couple of things in the past have stopped me from, or what I believed stopped me from picking up a graphic novel. One is, if I found a series that I liked, the library would only have maybe the first 2 volumes. And we know those volumes can take months, if not years, to be published, and it can take some more time for a library to acquire them. And of course, you can put in a request, but that doesn't mean that they're going to acquire them. And I actually took a chance and put in a request for one series, and fingers crossed the library decides to get them. The other thing is, if I found a series online, some of these websites will charge you an arm and a leg to access each chapter. Like they want you to buy, different tiers of coins to spend. But as you continue the series and you read each chapter gets more expensive. So you're spending all these more coins. So now that I have given y'all some background, I did end up finding a website where I didn't have to spend any coin, and there were a lot of manhwa series, like a whole library full. Now, don't ask me the name of this website because it's probably one I shouldn't be on, so therefore I'm not gonna tell y'all. But I found so many series, and I just got my mojo back, and I binged the hell out of the last week and a half of September. I'll touch briefly on the series that I checked out. I'm not going to rate these. I feel like the biggest thing is the illustrations. All of them are beautifully drawn. I enjoyed that all of the ones I picked were in color. And I just feel, I don't know, I feel funny about rating other people's art. So yeah, I'm not gonna rate these mainly for that reason, but all of them had interesting plots. There was something in each of them that kept me coming back, and it wasn't and it wasn't only that these were super graphic, okay? I want to give you guys a heads up that all of these series I'm going to touch on have super, super graphic content. So be mindful of that. I know that is not for everybody, so therefore I'm not going to go into too much detail about what happens in them. The first one I checked out was Roses and Champagne. It is a crime drama with a toxic, obsessive Russian mafia heir. Okay, that would be the blonde one, Caesar, and a patient, dependable Russian lawyer. There was great tension, again, beautifully drawn, and actually the only one I could log on Goodreads. That is the downside about the online mangas or webtoons or manhwas, is because they don't have ISBNs. So this one was actually the only one I was able to log. The next series I checked out was Tears on a Withered Flower. The main female character is Jesus, and she is in a dead end relationship with her man, Min Cheol. Min Cheol has some very bum like tendencies, and Jesus has gotten into a ton of debt because of decisions made by Min Cheol. So these circumstances have severely affected her mental health. And even though she's struggling, she gets up day in and day out and goes and works multiple jobs to keep a roof over her and Min Cheol's heads. Now, one of those jobs is working at a flower shop. While she is caught up in this seemingly never ending situation, she catches the attention of a much younger man who comes in daily to buy flowers. And that would be the other character on the screen. She has no idea that Tahe wants to get to know her more. This series is a relationship drama, and it is really, really good. It's ongoing, so I do have to wait for new chapters to come out. And I was actually surprised that this series has multiple POVs. So you get Min Cheol's perspective, Tahe's perspective, and of course, Jesus. Next up is In the Doghouse. Courtney Devon is from a family of nobility, but they are not very wealthy. She's been doing what she can to keep things together, and one day she and her father surprisingly receive an invitation to come to the capital to meet the king. Courtney learns that the prince wants to offer a marriage proposal. She also comes to learn that the prince believes that she would be perfect to fulfill some of the desires that he has. She knows that taking this proposal would turn things around financially for her family as long as she holds the purse strings. Prince Richard and Courtney start a very unique relationship dynamic and navigate the darker spectrums of intimacy. Love in Hell involves two men who are obsessively and dangerously attracted to the other. The darker haired one, just as far as I got before there were no more chapters, the darker haired one, definitely weird. Buddy is weird, but weird doesn't creep me out. Weird doesn't detract me from like anything. But I'm not too sure if I'm going to continue this one. There just wasn't as much storyline along with the illustration, but we gonna see. This next one, I'm almost embarrassed to say that I read it, but I shouldn't be. Okay, Mo's Unapologetic Reads. I like intentionally named the channel that, okay, because we should not be embarrassed about what we decide to read. It is called Mr. A's Farm. Just know that the main character has taken on a job as a farmhand on his missing uncle's farm. And the farm is also like a safe haven for men that have contracted a virus that gives them animalistic characteristics and behaviors. And the main character is doing what he thinks needs to be done to care for the farm. Lee and Sayo are college students taking the same course and are assigned to a group project. They make an unusual agreement so one of them, the one with the dark hair, can finally get some sleep. It's weird, it's intense, and definitely addictive to read. This next one, I'm going to have trouble saying the title, so forgive me. I read Hounds of Sisyphus, which has a more complex and darker narrative. It's set in a post-apocalyptic time period where people have become zombie-like. And So Jin Woo is the latest victim of the desperation of others trying to find resources. Jin Woo is pretty much left for dead after an attack that is until Guam finds him. I noticed a trend with these manhwas is the males are always drawn really like big, like they really want you to see the difference in size, the difference in the relationship dynamic by using their size. So Guam is the big one, okay? And he's seemingly inhuman, and he agrees to save Jin Woo if Jin Woo will be a productive member of the barricaded town that Guam is leading. For the first time in a long time, Jin Woo doesn't have to worry about the zombies or finding resources in this town with a semblance of peace. Though he starts to notice some things about how people are behaving and their behavior around Guam. The blinders at some point are removed, and Jin Woo has to make a difficult decision that will put not only himself at risk, but the other townsfolk as well. Last up is the Sacred Serpent's Seduction. This one was so sweet. Tae Song Jin is working multiple jobs to pay for his grandfather's medical expenses. His grandfather is really, really sick and doesn't seem like he has long to live. Jin learns an old folk tale about a mountain spirit that can grant you a wish. And in search of this mountain spirit, he runs across a snake that seems dehydrated. He gives the snake some water, returns home, unknowing that the serpent has hitched a ride and is indeed the mountain spirit that he has been looking for. They strike a very transactional deal. Guillermo Yang will extend the life of Jin's grandfather, and Jin will in turn agree to bear Guillermo Yang's children. And these children will replace him when it's his time to leave the mountain. Now, you may ask how Guillermo Yang is going to get another male pregnant. And I'm not going to tell you. You just got to read it. Out of all of the couples that I read in these manhwas last month, Guillermo Yang and Jin were my top couple. Then I want to say Hae-soo and Tae-ha were second. And then maybe Courtney and Prince Richard were my third. But all of them. But those are like my top 3 couples from last month. If you can't tell, I really enjoyed the rabbit hole that I fell down last month. I was up at like 2, 3 reading these. When I could take a break, I would be scrolling, and it's so convenient. They're on my phone, just scrolling, enjoying myself. If you are a fellow manhwa or manga person, please let me know if you have any more recommendations. Well, that's all, folks. Thank you for tuning in for another month of reviews. I will be seeing y'all soon. Later.